Hey guys, happy Thursday. It is a couple minutes before noon. I wanted to hop on because we have a bunch of questions today. Thank you all for your questions. I always love getting them, and I'm sure everyone else appreciates it because we all learn together, right? So we're going to jump right in. By the way, Halloween playlists. I'm going to put up a Music Monday that's Halloween themed. So if you're making one, make sure you post it up there on Monday. I know there's been a couple posts about it, so if you want to post earlier, that's fine. But there's definitely a post coming, so Monday, look out for it. Share it if you want. Dog's making a lot of noise. Ignore her. So let's hop into our first question. Elizabeth, and I actually have my big computer screen behind me so I can read them. Elizabeth asked about a cycling resume, which I thought was a really good question. I don't think we've gotten something like this before. She asked if we include our day job, if you're not full-time fitness, or if it should just be focused on cycling. I think you said you're applying to Lifetime. Yeah. And you've been teaching at smaller gyms for a while, which is great. So here's my take on that. And I'm a manager, so I'll tell you what I look for. I filter through resumes a lot. Most of them are for front desk people. But when it comes to instructors, honestly, the resume isn't that important. I want to see you on the bike. I want to see you ride. I want to see your personality. I want to see if you're passionate. That stuff doesn't really come through in a piece of paper as well as it should. So oftentimes the resume is just a formality. I want to see that you can make a resume. I want to see that you have some experience that's relevant. I want to see you have your certification. You have your CPR. Hi, Kim. Those are kind of the basics. But when it comes down to it, being an instructor, they're going to want to meet you. They're going to want to see how you ride. So the resume, unless there's like a million red flags, I think you'll be fine. Just make sure you put relevant info. So don't just print it off as if, let's say you're in marketing. Don't just print it off as if you're applying to a marketing job. You want to adjust it a little bit. So you can put your day job for sure. They're probably going to ask you what you do if you have a separate, you're not full-time fitness. They want to know kind of what your schedule is going to be like because they're going to have to put you in the schedule and times that work. They want to know that you're committed, that you're hardworking. We have a visitor. Hi. They want to know that you're passionate about fitness. So that bottom half of the resume, where you put like your skills, your hobbies, the fluff that oftentimes isn't as important when you're applying to, like, say, a corporate job, that becomes very important. So they want to see what you do outside of your day job if you have one. Now, again, if you're full-time fitness, you want that resume to be fitness related, and you probably already have most of this in there. If you're not, if you're more corporate, instead of those skills at the bottom that are maybe say Microsoft Excel or financial modeling or marketing, digital marketing, whatever it is, you can keep that stuff on there, but you want to add more that's going to be relevant to an instructor, right? So if you do a lot of presenting, and you have public speaking skills, or maybe you've taken a public speaking course, that could be relevant, right? Because we're in front of people. We have to be able to talk. You have to be able to not be nervous and hold yourself together. If you have like community-oriented things that you do in your hobbies to see that you're passionate about the community that you're in and you want to be with people, you're a people person, those sort of things that translate, think about it in terms of not necessarily the skills of the job, but what it says about you and what translates to being an instructor. So, you can do a lot with that. I wouldn't, again, worry about it too much. It's really going to be, when someone's hiring an instructor, it's really about meeting them, seeing them on the bike and what they can do, way less about what they can do on paper. So just do your best with it. Throw a few things in there that make sense. Make it obvious that you adjusted your resume for this position. It's not just, a printed off corporate resume that you handed to them, and that should be fine. So hopefully that answered your question a little bit. I'm happy to look at it if that makes you feel more comfortable, but I really wouldn't worry about it. I think you'll be fine. Next question, Kelly asked, this drives me crazy, Kelly. I'm so sorry this happened to you. So someone in her class was playing a card game on his cell phone. Just ridiculous. Not surprising though. It happens. I've never had someone playing a card game. I've definitely had people using their phones. You'll get mixed advice on this. So depending on what your gym allows, there's probably a no cell phone rule. If there isn't, you can make it your rule. So you could say at the beginning of class, listen, I know you guys took the time to be here, and I'm excited to have this class with you the next 45 minutes, hour, whatever it is. I'd really appreciate it if you would silence and turn off your cell phones, get them out of the room, or put them away in a bag, in a pocket, so that they don't come out during class, because it not only distracts me as your instructor, but it distracts the people around you, and we want to have the best experience. Usually saying something like that, people would be pretty rude to then pull out their cell phone in the middle of class. Granted, it still happens. So I don't know if you did say something like that before this happened. If you didn't, try that. If you did, these happen, right? But I don't know if maybe don't tell him you saw he was playing a card game. Maybe say, was it an emergency? Or, you know, try and make it clear that, like, you saw it, it distracted you, it takes away from everyone else's ride, and you would really appreciate it if he didn't do it again, if it gets to that point. If it still happens, honestly, to a certain point, we can't do anything. I definitely have people, the world we live in, people are addicted to their phones, whether it's work-related or otherwise. They're on them all the time. So asking for 45 minutes or 60 minutes away from the phone is actually a big ask. I mean, you go to a restaurant now, you see people sitting across from each other like this. It's like, what's the point of even, drives me crazy. But it happens. So for me, if it's a repeat offender, I'm going to talk to them after class, and I'm going to make it clear that it's disrespectful. If it's once, maybe it's someone who's never been to a class before, and honestly, here's the thing. A lot of people go on their phones because they're so tired and they want to use it as an excuse to not work, but they don't want to make it look like they just gave up. I know that sounds weird, but it's actually true. So I usually give a one-time pass. Repeat offenders, I'll talk to them. And again, always say it at the beginning of class and make it clear, no cell phones. Other than that, there's not that much you can do other than maybe talk to your manager and see how the club would handle it. But you don't want to overstep what maybe the club would want you to, so you got to be wary of that as well. Sometimes people are just going to do what they want to do. I mean, they're either paying to be there or they're paying for the membership. Either way, they're paying to be there. So we kind of have to let them do what they want to a certain extent, unless the club allows you to lay down the hammer, if you will. So I know it's annoying. We've all been through it, whether it's cell phones or some other talking in the back of class. I know I've done a video on that. We can only do what we can do. Do your best. Handle it with poise. Do your best. Be confident. And just the best thing you can do is give a really good class so that he can't be on his phone. And I'm sure you did. Sometimes it doesn't matter. But anyways, all right, next question. Teresa was asking about boosting attendance because she has a boxing boot camp which opened up. Used to be a paid class, and now it's not. It's included in the membership, and it's pulling people from her cycling class. So this happens all the time, whether it's within a club or outside of it. I mean, Cycle Bar is constantly competing with new pop-ups, whether it's boot camps or like an Orange Theory or other cycling studios, other gyms, other personal training studios. With fitness the way it is right now, booming like crazy, it's going to be always a struggle to compete with these new boutiques and high-end luxury studios. There's a lot out there that we have to kind of deal with. Teresa, for you, I would say it might be a little bit of, this is novelty, this is a new and exciting thing, so a lot of people are going to try this out, and eventually they will find a balance between this class and cycling. It's probably going to, honestly, overall affect your attendance because now they just have another option. There's not too much you can do about that besides give them a really cool, awesome class, have fun with it, get to know your people, get to know their names, talk them up. Once you really get to know your community, they want to come because they like you. So aside from wanting to take a cycling class, if they like you and they like you as an instructor and as a person, they're going to come to your class. You can do a lot of promotional stuff. I'm not sure if you mentioned doing that You could, yeah, rides with raffles. That's cool. You could do theme rides, do stuff that really hypes up your class. Make sure you're on social media promoting it, getting people in there. And when you're in class, tell them, hey, follow me on social, follow me on Spotify, check out my playlists. Get them as connected to you as possible so that they really want to come back. Some of it, like I said, they're going to want to go to this new class just because it's a new thing, and you can't really stop that, but eventually it'll find a balance. I guess, yeah, that's kind of all. The only other thing I would say is think about it in terms of what gets you to go try a new class, right? We're all in the fitness industry. I'm willing to guess that most of you do other things besides cycling, maybe other classes, maybe just different kinds of gyms. What brings you there? What brings you to those classes? Is it the instructor? Do they do really cool stuff? Do you like the people that go to the class with you? Are there promotions? Are there discounts? Are there themes? All that stuff. Think about it. Whatever draws you in, try and use that with your riders. So there's a lot we can do. We can get creative with it. We just got to keep it interesting so they want to keep coming back. It's not just about the class. It's about all the fluff around it sometimes. So Sarah asked something similar. She kind of expanded on that. She said she used to have her most successful class at night. So Sarah, I think this is what you're saying. You have some morning classes and some evening ones, and the evening ones are starting to dwindle a little bit. You're noticing a decline. The regular riders aren't as regular. You haven't changed your teaching style. You changed music. I get it. Okay, so this is a lot of kind of what I was just saying. Maybe there's some new competition in your area that has night classes or a class the same time as when your class is, and people are trying that. Honestly, sometimes it's just like the time of year. It's random stuff. Like, for example, today, last night, the Sox, I'm in Boston, right? So last night the Sox played. Everyone stayed up to watch it. So our morning classes were like way slower than they normally are. Totally a random thing, but we knew it was going to happen. And it's one of those things that you just kind of have to take as it comes. So there might be things like that. I would look at the broader trend. If this has been happening for weeks or months, maybe it's worth considering changing the time of that class. Maybe you could talk to your manager and do some research. What's going on around you at other studios? What's successful? What's not? In terms of timing, maybe it's because the studio down the street has a time. Maybe your class is 6 o'clock and that class is also 6 o'clock. So it's drawing a little bit there. Just doing a half hour staggered might help. So if you were 5:30 or 6:30, I would also think about demographics. So this is huge. I talk about this a little bit. So if your morning classes are really full and your evening classes not so much, even if they used to be, let's just pretend it's always been this way. It's a totally different group of people. So my 6 a.m. riders are not like my 6 p.m. riders, right? Your morning get up and go, super self-motivated, usually type A, want to get it done, getting off, going to work, usually some sort of, job either downtown or some sort of 40-hour-a-week job versus, maybe my 9:30 class is the moms who just got their kids off into school and they're, the mom demographic versus the nighttime people who maybe they are only nighttime exercisers. They come after work. They're a little bit more fair weather maybe. There's always going to be different demographics depending on the times that you teach. So see what kind of people your class brings in. And maybe that's your bread and butter. And that's fine to be like a morning instructor, but be aware that you might have to change how you teach for different times, for different demographics. Maybe that means changing your music a little bit. Maybe that means, changing your energy a little bit. It will really depend on who's coming. So pay attention to that. See how those two different times are different, your morning versus your evening, and then think about how maybe you could switch things up. So come back in, let us know. I'm happy to talk about that. If you can do some research on, what those people look like, what that demographic is like, what that difference is like, and then we can go over some things that maybe you could change to make it hopefully bring in some more people. But again, it might be the same thing as what we were talking about with Teresa, where there's just so many options now that as soon as something new opens up, people want to try it, and it pulls from our classes. Unfortunately, the way fitness is, everything's growing. It's just hard to keep up. And sometimes we have to be okay with taking a little bit of a hit and just, you know, keep doing what you're doing, keep trucking along, and people will come back if it's good. They always come back if it's good. So keep that in mind. Don't get too discouraged, especially with, I don't know where you're located, but if you're somewhere like me where we're heading into winter and it's about to get real cold, you're going to see numbers improve for sure. So take some solace in that. I'm sure you're doing great. It's just a matter of, you know, finding that sweet spot for those nighttime people to come back, and you'll figure it out. Okay. I think that's all we had for today. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? I have a few minutes. No? Going once, going twice. Okay. I am going to let you guys go. If you have another question or a follow-up from what we already talked about, just pop it in the comments. I'll either answer it, or if it's kind of a longer explanation, I'll save it for next week and answer it then. But let me know what you guys think and how everything's going, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good rest of your day.